So I have a brief bios on three of our attorneys that are on our panelists today, and I welcome you to check out their LinkedIn profile and also their website as well. Christine, I'm hearing a little echo, so I don't know exactly where that's coming from. But I'm going to start off with attorney Jordan. Brianna Jordan is the founder of Brazen Legal, a legal firm that provides legal counseling and representation to immigrants and small businesses. Through her work, Jordan has helped immigrant entrepreneurs live and work in the United States, consult for global companies, and advise women entrepreneurs in Haiti. She's an advisor and mentor at the Center for Women's Entrepreneurship at Babson, and also lectures on legal and branding considerations for entrepreneurs at various educational institutions in Massachusetts. So welcome, Attorney Jordan. Our next attorney is Attorney Bridgette Bennett. Bridgette is an attorney who sole practice focuses exclusively on immigration and nationality law. Bridgette is passionate about immigration law. Her law firm is community-centric and is dedicated to serving immigrants' needs of their local and global clientele. Bridgette strongly believes in education as a means of addressing many of the issues facing non-citizens today. So welcome, Attorney Bennett. Our next attorney is John Iles. John graduated with his Juris Doctorate and also has an LLM in taxation. He has well-rounded experience in multiple areas of law that grants him the ability to effectively serve businesses and also individuals to maximize their success. He also uses his experience to assist local and foreign businesses to invest in the United States and assist foreigners to live and migrate to the United States through their business relationship. In addition, John has extensive experience in negotiation, drafting, closing various commercial, intellectual, real estate, and leading transactions. So welcome, Attorney John. So before I go over, we have some questions that we were hearing from our students and also some of our small businesses. I just want to quickly go over the agenda for this webinar. We're going to talk about the misconceptions around immigration and other legal topics pertaining to business, for international students, and also work visas as well in court proceedings. We're going to end, after we have these couple Q&A questions, we're going to open it up to the audience to ask any questions they may have for our attorneys. So let's start off. We have some questions, and I'm going to start off with Brianna. The first question I have for you, are the United States Citizenship and Immigration Service Office open? And if they are, what kind of functionality are they offering during the pandemic?
First, thanks for having me on today. I'm glad to be able to help in some way. Most of the immigration agencies are still open. USCIS is still open. They're just not accepting any in-person appointments right now. So that means anybody who needs to come in for like an info pass appointment, which is basically when you're going into immigration and asking for information about your case, or people that have to go in person for their biometrics appointment, which is basically their fingerprints and they're getting their pictures taken for a work card or like a green card application. Those things right now are suspended until at least May 3rd. We're not sure if they'll extend it again. Initially, it was until April 7th, and then they decided to extend it till May 3rd. So as of right now, it's still May 3rd, but USCIS is still open. So people that need to file change of status applications, like let's say, for example, you're here with a visitor's visa and you can't go back to your home country because of COVID, you're still able to file a change or adjustment or extension of status with USCIS because they're still open. They're just not accepting any in-person appointments. Other immigration agencies are open as well. ICE is still, functioning, working, picking people up. The immigration courts are still open. A lot of courts have transitioned into allowing attorneys to submit motions electronically via email, or they're allowing telephonic representation or video representation so that you don't have to actually go in person into court. And then the National Visa Center, which is responsible for like visa applications, they're still open, but right now they're not really processing routine applications, so like for visitors visas, because they don't want to encourage people to get a visitor's visa and then hop on a plane and go somewhere.
Mhm. Thank you. The next question is for John. One of the questions that we have is, as a small business owner on a non-immigrant visa, is my company eligible for the SBA loans and funding?
Well, the short answer is yes. The longer answer is going to be, it does depend. With it said, the SBA loans and funding is going to be by the discretion of the lender. However, it is available for non-immigrant visa owners, for those who are eligible with the different ways. With it, there's different proof that has to be done to show that you are a either permanent resident here in the United States, like a green card, or if you have done your business for about a year or so, you'd be eligible. You may have to be a guarantor for the loan, and you have to show proof that you have eligibility to work and be inside the United States. You would qualify. But again, it's at the discretion of the lender to show that your qualifications are valid.
Okay, thank you. I know we may have some follow-up questions on this, that question, along as the one I'm about to ask Attorney Bennett. If you are a non-US citizen and you lost your job, or you might feel at risk of losing your job, can you benefit from the unemployment assistance programs that are out there?
Yes, thank you for having me on today. Very happy to rejoin the Babson community. So the answer is yes. As long if you're not a lawful permanent resident, meaning a green card holder, or a United States citizen, as long as you are in valid status with work authorization and you have a Social Security card that allows you to work, you do qualify for unemployment benefits. Now, a lot of people are scared to apply for unemployment because of the fact that they do, even though they have work authorization. And the reason is this big conversation regarding the new public charge laws. So having a work permit doesn't mean you have your green card. And that might be something you're looking forward to applying for in the future. So people are wondering, well, if I get unemployment, is this considered a public benefit? And will this result in my green card in the future getting denied? And the answer is no. There are some exceptions to the public charge rules. And fortunately for once, for immigrants, this is something that does not affect them. So if you are properly work authorized and have your valid Social Security card, and you find yourself in a situation where, due to the situation right now, your employer had to shut down and you're no longer work authorized, you absolutely can apply for unemployment benefits without fear of repercussion as it relates to the public charge.
Thank you for that. Staying with you, Bridgette, another question pertaining to kind of status of people's citizenship. As an international student, how does the COVID-19 pandemic affect their legal status as a student? Or does it affect their legal status as a student?
Well, there are kind of four things I would point out here. First of all, it is imperative that each international student maintains contact with their school's international student department, and that they're knowledgeable of the evolving policy. So different schools are handling things in a different way. So you must maintain contact with your advisor and with this department. Another good thing is that CWEL, the USCIS arm of immigration that deals with the international students, they are definitely working with the schools, and they are allowing some level of flexibility considering the situation in which we find ourselves. So it is definitely incumbent upon the students to maintain contact with their school, to have knowledge about the policies, and the policies might change. So that's why you should maintain frequent contact. The second very important fact that international students should think about is that they need to maintain the required course load, a full course load. So this is not the time, okay, my school is shut down, so I can go party. I'm gonna go see Miss Bennett in Florida and have spring break and forget all about school. This is definitely not the time. You're still required to maintain a full course load. And again, that is something you work out with your academic advisors. And many schools have virtual classes. So there really isn't any reason that you should not maintain your full course load. What we don't want is for you to completely stop your classes and then fall out of status. The other thing to take into consideration is the travel ban. So there are lots of countries where we cannot travel to, and people cannot travel here. So that affects some of our students who would normally go home for spring break, for summer, for holidays. Think about it, they might not have family members here in the United States or places that they can stay. So this is something where, again, work with your university. University's housing department, they might have options that can help international students. And the nice thing is, at least from anecdotal situations that I'm aware of, the schools have been very, very good to their international students, but the students have to reach out to take advantage of what's being offered. So those are three takeaways for international students: making sure they are in contact with their international departments, the housing departments, and that they maintain a full course load via virtual online classes.
Excellent. And I'm happy to report Babson does, well, I think every school that has international students has a department, but I'm proud to say that Babson has someone on the line from our ISSS office, Liz, on the call. And then we also have a slide as well that I'll show later with that contact information. So if we have any Babson students on the call, the information of how to contact them to set an appointment and also email them is going to be on the slide coming up as well. So I'm going to go back to Brianna. As a small business under a non-immigrant visa, what are some of the things I should be paying attention to during these times that we haven't maybe discussed already?
So things that I would want to think about are, like right now, for example, we're in the middle of H-1B season. So there are people that maybe are trying to apply for H-1B visas, or maybe they already have one, and, they're looking to renew those visas. I think right now, definitely working with their employers to make sure that they're able to still go through that process, and just checking in with them, and basically to mirror what Bridgette said, just making sure that they're checking in with their employers to make sure that they're still able to, work, because depending on the visa category that you're in, you still have to physically be at your employer. So the fact that a lot of people now are working from home, or they're working remotely, they're now working in a different location than maybe they initially said for their visa. So just working with their employers and their employer's attorney to make sure that they're not violating the parameters of their visa.
Yeah, very, very important. Thank you for that. And last question is going to John. As a small business owner, again, non-immigrant visa, you talked a little bit about the SBA loans and funding, but as far as the payroll protection plans and those specific plans that might be specific to, I guess, US-based businesses, can they apply for those programs as well?
Absolutely. With the said, they can definitely apply for it. Again, most of these programs are going to be based upon the individual lender. There's a lot of applicants out there right now who are applying. Visa payroll plan itself became active on April 3rd. With it, we need to make sure that you're applying now as soon as possible, because there's a limited amount of budget for it. With it said, as long as you qualify for the different lender, as you qualify for SBA purposes, you have less than 500 employees, you have a really great opportunity. And with it, that particular program for the payroll, it's mainly tied to the making sure that you're using the loan for the purposes of making payroll You're keeping your employees paid. You're not reducing your staff. You're not, or you're rehiring your staff for everything. There's great benefits with it. The loan is extremely low, 1% interest rate, payable in 2 years. There's loan forgiveness out there. So there's a lot of great benefits. But again, it's at the discretion of the lender for going forward with it. There's a lot of applicants out there. There's limited funds, so you need to proceed as quickly as possible. And again, you need to make sure that you're going with it what everyone else has said, making sure you're in compliance with your visa, making sure you're doing with the right business and everything else. You can't be switching your jobs. You can't be switching things you're going forward with. Your visa, your company, making sure you comply with all the rules.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, John, for that. Before we open up the call for questions, I just want to thank you all for answering those quick questions that are we're hearing a lot of in our ecosystem. One of the things I just wanted to address to the attendees that are going to ask the question, if you can make your question very succinct, so very short and to the point, to allow everyone to chime in and ask questions, and also allow the attorney to respond back. So we're going to open up the phone lines, and Christina or Casey, if you can just call on the person that might have their hand raised to ask the question. But before we do that, I forgot to mention during the intro, Attorney Bennett is a proud 10KSB alumni from Babson, so I apologize for that. Yeah, so it's happy to see her back as well. So first question is coming from
Susan Altamirano. Susan, I'm gonna unmute your line.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
So again, if you can make our questions very short and to the point. Susan, yep.
Okay, so my question is, right now I'm with a F1 status visa, and I'm about to register my company. So I'm planning to work my company with the OPT that I'm probably going to receive it in June. So which entity structure do you recommend to international students if we want to register the company? I heard that about the LLC. Also, I heard about Corp if I'm looking for investors. But I was really attracted to one S Corp. Can you recommend this, please?
Okay. Who would like to take that question?
And I don't know if you guys heard everything. To me, every fourth word or so sounded like I couldn't hear it, and so I don't know if we need to ask the question again or if you guys have it.
So Susan, could you just repeat your question one more time?
Okay. My question is, which entity structure would you recommend to international students that want to, create a business? I heard about LLC, S Corp, C Corp. Right now, my personal question is, I'm with one status, but maybe you can recommend, because I'm international, I'm planning to work on my business. So which entity structure would you recommend me?
Thank you, Susan. So John's going to take that question.
All right. It's a very broad question, and with it, it says it does depend. Unfortunately, the general lawyer answer to most questions. With it, each entity has its own unique values and personal greatness for it. An LLC is good for a pass-through entity for tax purposes, but again, it's a tax-through entity, so therefore, looking at your income that you're making abroad could definitely impact you. Additionally, corporations are more structured, more historically strong. So looking at your investors, looking at who your lenders are, they kind of look at your corporation to see what they would like you to do. With it, an LLC is an easier entity to start off with, and you can convert it over to a corporation. So it does depend on what you wish to do. And again, looking at your investors for everything else. Obviously, you need to look at your authorization to be here in the United States for immigration purposes. You can set up an entity here in the United States and just own it and work with it for different ways. And then you have to worry about what's the tax benefits, distributions of profits. If you're keeping everything in the United States, corporation sounds wonderful. If you wish to pay yourself, you're looking at employment taxes, which a corporation can assist with, or you can look at for distributions for LLC. So it does depend, unfortunately. So a little bit longer conversation we definitely need to have to help set up a proper entity.
Can I just add, to really mirror what John just said, but also if you think that you're going to want investors in, when you're starting or even in the long run, it might make sense to just start with a corporation. A lot of investors would like to see that you have a Delaware corporation. So if you know that you're going to have investors or that's the route that you want to go to, it might just make sense to just start the corporation rather than have the LLC and then convert it over. You end up saving some money that way.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Also, you can write, if you don't ask your question out loud, you can write your question in the chat and Casey will read off your question for you.
Yep, so we had a question earlier. Can you share some sources where we can apply for the unemployment benefits?
Well, employment benefits really is through your state. So that's where, you have to apply through. So it's not a federal unemployment. So wherever you live and work, that's who you need to contact for unemployment benefits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have a question as those that are on the call trying to think of several questions they would like to ask. If you are, even being a citizen, you don't have the technology or means to file for these claims online, like what are some other alternatives or other options that they can go through? Are they doing phone interviews? Are they doing anything by phone? Or are there any local or national outlets that they can go to use technology? So if someone can talk about that.
I believe you can call to file an unemployment claim. I don't think you have to do it online. I think online is preferred, but if you don't have access to, like a computer or something, I believe with your state, you can call, like they usually have a 1-800 number that you can call and speak to somebody on the phone.
Okay. All right.
We have another question in the chat. Casey, I think you're muted.
I don't see the next question. That was just me replying.
Oh.
So Bridget, can we go back to the question regarding students making sure they keep up with their credit? So say for an example, they were doing an internship along with taking their classes. Their internship had to end due to the COVID-19. What could students do during this time to fulfill those kind of credits, or if they're in a kind of different situation? Is there anything they can apply for, or what do they need to do?
So I think that's kind of an evolving policy. I don't, at least not based on my knowledge, I don't know of immigration taking a stand on that. But that's definitely something that obviously is out of their control. And the flexibility that immigration is extending is that when it comes to time to explain, okay, I had an internship, but it shut down and I literally could not work through no fault of my own because of this pandemic, and maybe even getting a letter from the employer. I think those types of situations is what immigration's using to make case-by-case decisions. They just don't want people to make rash decisions and completely stop operating as, just because they're afraid or whatever. But I think if it's out of their control, you have documentation. I have seen instances where immigration is working with people based on those circumstances.
Okay. I don't know if there's any other question. I'll keep on asking mine. Brianna or John, as far for a small business owner, we talked about the big non-immigrant visa. Is there anything that you're hearing from your clients now that can kind of help the attendees out in the small business or entrepreneurship space? Are there any other special programs out there for them? What should they be looking out for, preparing for, anything like that? We can start with Brianna, then go to John on this question.
I haven't really been hearing anything from my clients. I have one client in particular who, because of the mandatory shelter in place here in Massachusetts, he had to shut his business down. So he ended up laying off all of his workers so that they're able to file for unemployment. But I haven't heard anything particular from my clients, but I would say definitely apply for the COVID relief through the Small Business Association, and also your local banks as well. You can apply for the Paycheck Protection. It's the PPP. I don't remember all the acronyms, but you can apply through your local bank for that as well. I believe that loan is forgivable if you use it for payroll purposes, whereas the emergency one through the SBA is not. But the details are a little bit fuzzy just right off the top of my head, but definitely look into those as well. And I think some states are also allowing self-employed individuals to apply for unemployment as well. I know Massachusetts will be doing that. I'm not sure yet. I don't think the application process is open yet, but that's also a possibility as well.
Oh, thank you for that. John, anything to add to that question?
I absolutely agree with everything Bianca just said. With it, part of it you should definitely do is call around with your local banks and different ones. Quite a few of these programs are through the SBA, but also quite a few smaller banks are offering really great deals for their local communities. If you've been establishing there, they're willing to work with you. So it's always a good reason why you should always have a good relationship with your lenders and finance planners.
That's a true point. Thank you, John. I think there's a question in.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Also kind of unrelated to, a lot of creditors, your student loan companies are temporarily, like postponing your payments as well. So if that's a possibility for you, I know Navient and Sally Mae are offering 90 days. Fed Loan Servicing is offering 6 months. So that also can help you as well. And I think some credit card companies are offering either no interest or they're delaying payments. And I know a lot of car insurance companies such as Liberty Mutual and Progressive are offering either like money back because we really haven't been driving our cars, or they're offering like up to 20% off the next month's premium. So definitely look into those options as well, just to kind of, any money will help, anything, it'll add up eventually. So any little thing that you can do to maybe make your money stretch a little bit longer can be helpful.
That was great. Thank you for those tidbits, both of you. I think there's another question in the chat area from Arja.
One question is, if one is on F1 visa, wants to register their startup in Delaware, but does not have a permanent address or office address there, do we need a registered agent? If so, can you refer some companies, such individuals who could act as registered agents?
This is a great question. And I think probably Attorney John and I actually work together. John runs the business arm of our immigration practice in Orlando, and he does that type of work. So I don't know, Attorney John, I call him fondly Attorney J. If you want to jump in on that.
I don't mean to step on any toes. With that said, all businesses need a registered agent, period. With it's just a state government reliance things. So the short answer is yes, you need a registered agent. And there's a lot of, if you don't have friends or family who live in that state, there are professional registered agencies out there. Law firms can also serve as registered agents. So you have a lot of options out there. I'm not going to give a plug to any particular one at this time.
Okay.
Awesome. We had another question come in from Katarine. I currently hold a conditional residence, and when I applied through a petition for my husband, who is a U.S. citizen, when I was applying for my residence, I needed an affidavit of support. As a conditional resident, can I apply for unemployment benefits in the state of Massachusetts?
Yes, so as long as you're here legally, you're authorized to work legally, you can apply for unemployment. So since you have a conditional resident green card, you can apply for unemployment benefits.
Mhm. Okay. So Christina, any other hand? I can't see the hand raising or.
No, I think our audience is shy today.
Why are they shy? We have 3 attorneys on the call. Do not call them later for free advice. This is the time to get some free advice.
And I wanted to open it up to the attorneys to see if there's anything else that you have been hearing from your clients, any particular concerns that they have come to you. I know during these times you act as attorney, as a friend, as psychologist, and confidant.
They can't share with us as client attorney privilege. But maybe topics that you are hearing, particularly those that were preparing to, become legal citizens. Like, what should people be doing to get prepared once everything is over? What should we be doing?
So one thing that I've been encouraging people to do is still apply, and it's really just because immigration sucks right now. It's really bad. Like, the laws are very anti-immigrant right now. We have a very anti-immigrant administration, and things aren't going to get any better. Back in November, USCIS said that they were going to raise the filing fees, and in a lot of cases, these filing fees would be double. So I've been encouraging people, if they can afford to do so, apply for your immigration benefits now before the laws get stricter, before things get worse. We've already seen a new travel ban this year. The new public charge rule went into effect, and that makes it harder for people to get green cards. So before things get even worse than they already are, I would encourage people to still apply for their immigration benefits if they're able to, because at least, the devil we know is better than the devil we don't know. We know the restrictions on immigration now, and we know how to work around them. We don't know what's coming down the pike. So if you're able to apply for your immigration benefits now, definitely work on doing so. And filing fees are going up even for like immigration court. The cost of filing an appeal or reopening, like filing appeals and things in immigration court are going up as well. This administration just really wants to make it tougher for immigrants to be able to, get green cards and visas and, apply for citizenship. So don't give them the benefit. Like, if you're able to apply, definitely do so now.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Thank you. We have another question in the chat. Casey?
Sure. So it's, being an international student and a small business owner in the US, can I sponsor myself for an H-1B post-op? And then, are there any requirements for me to have a business partner who is a US citizen?
It all depends, right?
I believe with the H-1B, you can't be like 100% owner. I believe you need to be, like, you have to have someone else too that co-owns with you. I don't do a ton of H-1Bs anymore, so I'm a little fuzzy on that, but I believe for most things where you're starting a business that would then sponsor you, you can't be like 100% owner. You would have to have, I think the exception might be like an E-2 visa, but I think with an H-1B, you can't be, I think it has to be like 51% like ownership for someone else, but I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is.
And to jump into that, with it, yes, you're not supposed to be the owner, not have control of the business. So with it, you're looking at less than 50% ownership for the business. And even then, that's kind of questionable.
Mhm.
But with that said, there are a lot of different visas available for you to start your own business. As Bianca was saying about the E2, E1, you're a 51% owner controlling of the business. You can go forward with that type of opportunity. There's different requirements for the different visas out there. For the OPT, you're looking to get the experience so that you will qualify for a new business venture, and you can look to get your visa to go forward with that. H-1B can be extended for a few years, and then you can find new opportunities and get different sponsorships. And of course, you can also go back home, work for a year or so with your good management, come back with an L1 on the different businesses. So there's a lot of different opportunities out there, and I highly recommend that you talk to one of us, talk to your attorney to see what's the best opportunity for you.
Awesome. We have another question. If we apply for L1 visa with an intercompany transfer from India to US, are there any minimum requirements of number of employees, sales, permanent office, etc.?
Minimal requirements is always a great question, right? Jumping into this thing. It is a depends, and it's a reasonableness factor. You're having the reviewer making sure that the application makes sense. So depending on what you're doing about how much you're trying to do. For an L1, depends on what type of position you're coming in for. Are you a manager? Are you an executive? Or are you a specialist? And each one of those have their own requirements showing proof that you qualify for those particular positions. So with it, I would love to have a company that has 500 employees, numerous managers, numerous activities. And with it, I have had qualifications for very much less than that. And it guys depends. And even with that 500 employee company, didn't qualify for other things. So it does depend. There's a reasonable factors, whether or not the business makes sense and sustainable. So with it, you're as a foreign individual coming into the United States to work, it's not just for you to come into the United States, it's for the United States to benefit from you coming to the United States also. We want to encourage everyone to come here, but with it, for these business, for these temporary employment positions, it has to make sense for the researcher, for the reviewer to say that this is a good application.
Okay, great. I have another question. Person asked, I may have symptoms of the coronavirus, excuse me, and want to be tested for coronavirus. Or I have been diagnosed with the coronavirus and need medical treatment. Will this negatively affect my U.S. green card case?
No. So it's not going to count against you negatively towards your green card application. Like as far as your public charge application, your medical records exam, it's not going to count against you. So if you feel that you're sick or you need to go get tested for COVID, or you end up finding out that you're positive for COVID and need to seek medical treatment, that's fine. Don't feel like you can't do that. It's not going to negatively impact your green card case.
Thank you. I have another question if the hands are not raised and there's no question in the chat.
Go ahead.
Okay. Question is, how do I get my passport photos when I can't leave my house right now?
So some lawyers have been creative with this as far as helping their clients do that. So there are various apps that you can take like a passport style photo with on the app, and then you can send it to like CVS or Walgreens. Some of them are still printing out the photos. I would, just to be on the safe side, call ahead and just say if that you really need this done. If they send it, if you file it online, would they be willing to print it? That way there's like minimal contact. You can still do that. But they're just different creative ways. You can still try that. I would just call ahead before you do that, just in case you do it and then you have to wait a while before you get it.
Okay.
And also, it's kind of a silly thing with immigration. The passport pictures you submit are actually not the passport pictures they use. So, for example, an adjustment package, they require you to send 6 passport pictures and blah, blah, blah. And the picture they use is actually from your biometrics appointment. The one where you go in your picture they use. Now that the application centers are not allowed in and use biometrics exams with us, is that they are actually reusing a lot of the previous biometrics and photographs. So if you're renewing, for particularly people that are renewing within the process, most of our clients do not have to take the pictures, and they're not required to do additional fingerprints or biometrics. So that's one nice thing that has come out of it as well.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
We had another question come in. It's, can you speak a little bit about the E2 visa to start my business in the US? What are the requirements, duration of the visa, application process, etc.? Can a Canadian PR holder qualify for the E2 visa?
Well, to start off with, I mean, for an E2 visa, and with it, first off, you have a qualifying country, making sure that we have a proper treaty with that country in order to apply for an E2 visa. With it, you need to have control of the business, and you're coming in here temporarily. And with that, that does depend on what type of country you have with the treaty, how long are you here with that particular visa, how often you can renew that visa. With it, you're starting up a business, you are doing a business that's not just for yourself, so you can't be self-employed. You have to have employees and have benefits to the for your business in general. And with it, it just has to be a good qualifying active or immediately to be active business. So those are the base requirements. And of course, there's just the common sense parts. There's the business plan, there's the applications, the resumes, qualifications, why we're doing everything. And no, you don't have to be continuing your business from your country to come over to the United States. You can start brand new, different type of business. Why don't we do everything? But again, you need to be practical with this thing. They're not just going to give you an E2 for the sake, sure, come on over. No, it's a legit business, one that you're employing other people with, one that you are here for control purposes because you're developing your business to make it better.
Okay.
Great.
All right, thank you. Another question, this is kind of like myth or fact here. Person heard that schools can issue electronic I-20s now. Is that true?
I haven't come across that, but as long as the technology is there, I don't think there's a barrier to that. So it wouldn't surprise me if schools really do move to that type of system as long as the technology is available.
Okay, great. Another question, will OIS continue issuing immigration documents to newly admitted students? So there's some, some schools that have rolling admissions. Will this continue to happen for newly admitted students? I know it's kind of.
All right, Shakina, we have Liz from the ISSS department who wants to intervene.
Awesome. So welcome, Liz. Liz, could you give us a quick intro of who you are, the department you represent at Babson? Greatly appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. So I am Liz Somsiegel. I'm the director of our International Student and Scholar Services at Babson. And so I just wanted to, I guess, take a moment to address the two recent questions that came up. So we currently support all of our F and J international students, as well as our students on OPT as recent alumni. And as far as the question related to electronic I-20s being sent, so there has been some guidance that gives flexibility during this time that does allow for that. However, it's only one agency, and there could be challenges trying to use those documents with other agencies. So at this time, as much as possible, we are still issuing and able to issue original documents with original signatures to prevent any challenges in the future related to entry to the US, visa applications, work authorization applications. There may be very rare or a few situations that we are able to provide an emailed I-20 with an electronic signature, but we will look at those on an individually case-by-case situation. And then as far as issuing documents for incoming students and even our current students, so even though we are working remotely still, we do have the ability to print and issue and sign and mail documents for our current students as well as our incoming students.
Thank you. Any additional questions as we do have Liz on the call? So if there's any students or incoming students that would like to ask any questions. Liz? Nope. Casey, is there any other questions in the chat area?
Nope, not that I can see.
Okay. So I want to take an opportunity to thank our newly appointed panelists, Liz, for joining the call, and our 3 attorneys. But before we do have some time, if I wanted to give each attorney a few minutes just to talk about about their line of business. Again, I know they're in immigration law, but what really got you into the field of immigration law? And I know all of you do additional things on top of legal, like Don does taxation. So if you can talk a little bit about your business, where you're located. We do have a contact slide that we're going to put up as well. But if you could just talk to us about your business services. So starting with Brianna, then we'll go to Bridgette and then to John as well. So a couple minutes each about you and your business. Yes. Yes.
Sure. So again, thanks so much for having me. This was fun. I love talking about immigration law. We do this all day. So I kind of fell into immigration law. I wanted to be an international human rights attorney, and I did a lot of work overseas, like in Haiti and the DR, representing Haitians overseas. But I just didn't really see my life, like I don't see myself actually living outside of the US. So I figured, what could I do within the US? And I fell in love with immigration law through the immigration law clinic at my law school. I did that for a year. I got to help a lot of different people get status, whether it was, my first case was helping an undocumented 15-year-old get special immigrant juvenile status to then get a green card. And so I just fell in love with helping people. And then where I was living, there aren't a lot of Haitian attorneys. I'm Haitian American, and there weren't a lot of Haitian immigration attorneys in my area. And as a result, a lot of them were being taken advantage of by notarios and other people that don't know what they're doing. And so I figured, I speak Creole, I can help these people. So the majority of my practice now is mostly green cards, inadmissibility waivers, and increasingly deportation defense. I kind of go back and forth between business law. I've always done kind of half and half, but over the years, my practice has grown to be more immigration than the business law aspect. But on the business law end, I help people start LLCs and corporations and nonprofits, and I draft and review their contracts. And on the immigration end, I do mostly green cards, deportation, and admissibility waivers, but I also do writs of mandamus, which is basically suing the government to help them or to force them to make a decision on your case a little bit faster. I handle asylum cases, and I do a lot of immigration interview prep because these days they've been getting like ridiculous and it's harder now.
Thank you for what you do. Thank you so much. Bridgette?
Okay, so for me, I am originally from Jamaica. And so I had the experience, I guess 32 years ago now. My dad decided to move, came here to the United States, and left me and my mom and filed for us. So it took about 2 years for us to get here. I have fortunately been blessed to have somewhat achieved the American dream. All the things that I had seen on TV as a kid, it is all possible here. So while I am very happy and blessed to have achieved the American dream, I am very, very cognizant that not many others have that experience. And for many, it's actually, they live the American nightmare. And my husband was actually one of those people. So in 1997, he came here to the United States on an entertainment visa. And I guess because, having met me, he didn't want to go back. So he stayed here. We dated for about 3 years. And he, unfortunately, with my knowledge, bought fake immigration papers and they blew up. And so between the years of 2000 and 2010, we fought immigration very, very hard. It was probably the most difficult time in our lives and in our marriage, not knowing whether my husband was going to stay here or if he was going to be deported and I'd have to be a single mom here with all of the responsibilities associated with that. 3 attorneys we had spent over $30,000 in legal fees, not including the immigration filing fees. So we've definitely been taken advantage of. And the last attorney told us, you guys have less than 1% chance of winning this case. But we had no other choice than to fight and to go to immigration court. So while all this is going on, I decided to quit my job in cushy corporate America and decided to go to law school. And so in 2008, I started law school, and I did not represent my husband in the end, but was very fortunate to play some role in that process. And thankfully in 2010, an immigration judge in Orlando granted his petition for a green card. So immigration for me is extremely personal. I would like to see the American nightmare for many turn into the American dream as it did for me. So it is my passion and my honor to serve immigrants as they navigate this process. I've been very blessed. Right out of law school, I started my law firm in 2011, and we have grown since that time. We now have 2 locations, one in little rural Groveland, Florida, and one in Orlando. And I have at this time 17 employees, and we work in all aspects of immigration law. Recently merged and purchased the business arm of our law firm in Orlando. So now we are able to do all of the business cases that I would have referred out in the past. So I consider that we are a full service immigration law firm.
Thank you, Bridget. Do I hear a movie or book coming out of this? That's amazing. I said it first.
Is that my new growth plan?
It's your new growth plan. Yes, yes. And John, let's hear more about you and why did you get into law?
Thank you very much for having me here with us and being able to talk with everyone. With it, I am with Bennett Law Center. I'm actually part of the Orlando office there. With it, I entered into law to help with businesses develop and grow and participate in every single aspect of what the business can do, from beginning, growth, to its end, and with all the asset protections and everything with it. I came into immigration law based upon my fund operating agreements. I'm trying to create a proper structure for ownership and control of the businesses. I came into a whole bunch of fun EB-5s and large investments and dealing with the developers, starting up brand new businesses, and fell into all the fun joys of employment and all the wonderful aspects of a business and its development. With it, I help with the immigration parts of everything. Love to be with the Bennett Law Center. It's a part of the business program with her, and just doing everything necessary to make sure the businesses continue to grow and develop.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I thank all 3 of our attorneys for answering all these great questions that were presented, and thank you for all your feedback, free advice to help not only our small business owners, but also our students. And I do have an announcement for our upcoming webinar, but before that, I just want to give Liz an opportunity to come back to just address again the department at Babson that's servicing our students and also our alums. If you can just talk a little bit more about that, Liz.
Sure, no problem. So our website is the best site for current students to sort of find out about information, and incoming students, we have a site as well. I think the best thing right now, I mean, as so many people have said, and you all know this, but we are in such unprecedented times, and there has been and continues to be some clarification from immigration agencies around some flexibility. But as was said earlier in this presentation, it is still extremely important to make sure that you're a full-time student and going through all the regular processes to get work authorization. We'll be communicating with students soon related to summer internships, hoping that there still are a few opportunities. And we have a variety of information on the community FAQ resource page on Babson's coronavirus page that we will be updating with sort of some more recent developments that relates to unemployment, OPT, CPT. There is still a lot unknown. So please reach out to us. We're trying to stay on top of things and make sure that our students are up to date, but there are a lot of information that is still not clarified by the agency. And as much as we would love everything to be more flexible and extended and everything like that, until there is the official guidance, we have to follow the regular regulations until that time. But please reach out to us if you have any questions. Our advisors, again, are available for email and virtual appointments during this time that we're not on campus. But we are fully functional and know that it is a very confusing and challenging and stressful time.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So again, I want to thank our attorneys. Thank you, Liz, for being on the call today. And on behalf of the WinLab team, we want to just wish everybody well. But before we end, I just want to give a brief announcement for you can join us next week, Wednesday, from 3 to 4. Our next topic is going to be personal leadership and mental fortitude. It's very important to make sure that not only we're keeping our finances or legal things in order, but we also keep our mind in the right order as well during these unprecedented times. So we're going to, our next webinar is going to be with Suzanne Jules from Miami. So I'm really excited about that and hope to see everyone next week, and everybody remain safe and well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.